said he doesn't go to the games. He watches them. He doesn't want. Yeah, he's got a son. So I told her story because he was watching. He doesn't have 2 sons because he was also talking.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I am Chad Holmes, joined once again by former Wausau West High School head football coach Jason Foster, man who's been on the road.
You got vacation?
I appreciate you coming in after hearing that you went on a road trip to Nebraska, drove there, drove back, and when'd you get back?
Last night about 8:30, I think we rolled back into town. Yeah,
I'm almost tempted to have you tell us about that facility there, but we're not going to do that quite yet because everybody will get very jealous what they're doing over in Nebraska. But good to see you again as we continue, as we're getting towards the end of our little trek here for 2025 this week. And then next week, we'll tell you about next week. I'm going away for next week, but then we'll be back for one more show in 2 weeks. But again, it's great to see you. And you get a little help with the heavy lifting here.
It's like an 8-hour drive.
Talk about what's been going on here in high school football is our coach guest. We'll talk about his team, the Newman Catholic Cardinals, coming up, but we're also going to get his take. I'm sure some very hot takes on what else is going on in high school football here in the postseason playoffs.
We're doing it
Paul
again in 2
Michlig,
years.
good to see you.
Good to see you guys, and it's you get a little lonely when you lose a little earlier in the playoffs. So it's a
rough life, isn't it?
It is. It's not, and so it's good to come back here and talk to you guys, and it's always good to talk to you guys, and a lot of good football still being played.
We'll talk in our coach segment, which we normally do, about the program and the season and his team with Newman Catholic coming up in just a little bit. But as we always do, we start off by what happened in the past weekend. Of course, last week was level 2 in the high school football playoffs. All the action occurred on Friday night, and real quickly again, one of the things that's kind of sad is I look at my sheet. No area teams in Division 1, no area teams in Division 2. Let me ask Coach Michlig. You know Central Wisconsin football. I mean, does that mean anything? Is it because number one, we don't have as many teams in Division 1 and Division 2 as we used to number 1. But what's your take on high school football here in this part of the state? Maybe compared, you could talk about 8-player in terms of the rest of the state as well. But how do you look at where we stand in terms of high school football here in this part of the state?
I think it's still Everest was just in the semifinals last year, and they just almost they could have won that game. So you're going to have ebbs and flows. I don't care if you're a small school, a big school, a medium school, you're going to have ebbs and flows. And obviously when you get higher up, it's probably even more difficult to keep advancing than say lower. Sometimes you can get into a good situation and you can keep on getting in a good part of the state. And with this new ranking of how the teams they did this year, which I think it was great. I'm all in favor of. That will play some factors into it too. So there's a lot of factors. I think the football around here is tremendous because if you're talking about Edgar and Stratford, you still got those guys over there. So Mosinee, Tomahawk, those are all Central Wisconsin teams, and I know that Wausau West has had a great program for the last. Forever, to be honest with you. I mean, they've always been in the mix of things. Everest, same thing. They're in the conference title 2 years in a row. Wausau East has had a great season. I had a great season last year. So if you're looking at the overall, I think and well coached, you got some more continuity. Coaches that have been there a while. When we were talking about the Brockmeyer before. I'm like the old man that goes there now. I mean, I can put the 3 other coaches together, and I got those years. So I think, but now Matt's been doing a great job at West. He's been there now for a while, and obviously he was assistant before that. So he's getting there, and every staff is getting there now. So that plays a factor too. So I think it's in a good spot, and you can sit there and look at me and say I'm a homer, but that's my truth of it. That's what I feel.
And let me add, and maybe Jason can jump in here real fast as well, is that it's not as though And we've talked about this for a number of years. The schools here in central
No,
Wisconsin
it was, I mean,
realize
this wasn't even
the
close.
amount
There's a
that's been
time
put
when
into
Evers
these
kinda did
programs,
that with
especially
their
in the
defensive
Fox
stats.
Valley area,
When you
that
look at the stats,
there's a
they
lot
post
being
after
done.
game,
Maybe it's
they
not
don't
in
add
terms
up.
of
there were
building
more
a
tackles
multi-million
than there were
dollar
tackles in a
facility,
game, than
but
there
you
were
have your
offensive plays
your
run in a
camp
game.
getting
That's
somewhere.
like,
I know
what
that.
the hell?
I know that.
Three
Again,
guys
I bring
can't
this up
get a
with you all the
sack on
time. I
one
remember
play.
after a tough year. It must be, I don't know how many years ago it was at the banquet. I think it was a 2-7 year, and you said it. And you guys have to be in the weight room. We have to be better there, and I think that the schools in this area have gotten better and closed that gap that may have been starting to widen out with some of the schools in the Fox Valley.
I'm like, it doesn't even work out. Like, man, it doesn't work out.
Same thing.
Like,
I mean, you talk about facilities. Nobody has
which
better
is kinda-
facilities right now than DC Everest does. I mean, it's
good
pretty
thing is
amazing, and that makes a difference. I was just talking with
They
a
got to
teacher
the
at
point
Wausau
where
West, actually a
we don't
Newman
even
Catholic
really-
grad, and she was just telling me how she takes her two young boys over to Greenheck and they do speed and agility training, and I think they're in like first or second grade. Like they're going over there in the evenings to the Turner Greenheck and doing that. So I think that things like that play a role. Those are things that have probably existed longer in the Fox Valley and in the southern Madison suburbs of Milwaukee and those areas that have had so much success. So I think the Central Wisconsin Perimeter Camp that you guys continue to do makes a big difference. I think more than anything what that does too is it allows these coaches and these teams and quite honestly the athletes to do that networking and kind of build those relationships. But it's all part of the process. I think one of the issues that will continue to get the bigger schools in our area when you compare them to the Kimberleys and the Appleton Norths, maybe Neenah. I don't know for sure what their demographic is, but for sure when you get to Arrowhead, Muskego, and some of those programs, Mugwanago, the socioeconomic piece certainly plays a role in that as well, as far as who you're looking to get. And when we talk about weight room all the time, and that's really the thing you can control, right? You can't control who shows up or lives in your community, which you wouldn't want to. You want to take whoever you got, and you want to make them the best versions of themselves. And the one way that everybody can do that is through the weight room. And we talk all the time at West, or what's for sure when I was the coach, is we don't have a lot of 300-pounders, right? And those really aren't the guys who win and lose those football games. For sure it helps, no question about it. But what wins football games is the guys who go from weighing 150 pounds to 170 pounds. How many 175-pound guys who work their butts off, those are the guys who win football games. And the team who has the most of those, who also gels together and have the best attitude, teamwork, leadership, all those things that you can control. But yeah, I mean, we're going to start talking here in a minute about these teams. We've got some really nice programs in our area. When you start talking about Stratford, Medford, or Stratford, well, Medford's one too, but Stratford, Edgar, what Tomahawk's been able to do the last couple of years. Mosinee, pretty darn consistent right now as well.
And he said it. He said the key thing.
I mean,
the weight room, and we control that. And I said it to you guys both, I think, before the year that I had the opportunity to be with Coach Steph, and who I admire and of what kind of person he is. He didn't beat you from August to November. He beat you from November to August, and that is where the time and commitment is put on, not just by the coaches, but the athletes, and that's where they're going to beat you. And sometimes we get beat, and that's in some situations that might be what's happening, because the 150-pound guy he's talking about is going to lose the majority of time to that person that's 170. That's stronger, quicker, and faster. That's just science. They're going to win most of the time.
Well, anything you want
to
add?
I was just going to say, and the more guys you have like that, the more competition there is in your program, the more level of compete and toughness. I mean, all those things factor in. And so you want to have numbers, and you want to have those kids all doing what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to be doing it.
Well, let's talk about the area teams that were on the field in Level 2, Division 3. Merrill saw their season come to an end, fell to Grafton 59-0. Grafton, an undefeated team, obviously a very, very good football team and program.
I mean, they had
in those kind of games, you got to get off to a good start. First 3 drives, 3-and-out for Merrill. Fell behind early. 35-0, just 10 yards off into the first half. Jack Nelson for Grafton, 227 yards on 10 carries, 3 touchdowns. The quarterback, Nicholas Schiller, 6 of 7 passing for 107 yards and 3 touchdowns. But I guess, you got to look at the big picture for the Merrill program, and we've talked about this. We've had Coach Wadzinski on. It's a program that just continues to take steps forward, and I think the finish 7-4 this year, make Level 2 steps forward for Merrill.
Oh, huge steps forward for Merrill, right? I think I think if you are an athletic director or a principal, whoever, looking at your head coaching and your programs, what do you want, right? You want them taking steps forward every year. You want a great level of compete, and you want to see that improvement. And as we've talked about them the last 3 years, I just look at the steps forward they've taken each year. This year, it culminates in a home playoff game and a level 2 playoff appearance. I mean, everyone in Merrill's got to be pretty pleased about the direction of the program.
Anything you want to add, Paul?
I agree, and they had a guy. I was happened to talk to one of the coaches at the Packer game, and the guy that had 10 attempts for 227 yards and 3 touchdowns wasn't even the guy that they were gung ho about, that they were worried about. You know what I mean? And that's having a lot of weapons, and a great season for Merrill. And like Coach said, you got to be happy with him.
And when you end your season like that, like you're able to then sit in the end zone and say that's the next step, right? What Grafton did to us tonight. Look at what their guys look like. Look at how they played, the toughness, the lack of injuries, all those things. That's the next step.
Division 4, Mosinee makes it 7 wins in a row. It was a battle. I watched some of this game last Friday night, and Mosinee got past Evansville 19-7. Evansville came in at 9-1, so they finished 9-2. Trev Stoffel, who will be and I don't think we even mentioned it. He will be our student athlete guest coming up at 7:06 this evening. He was 8 of 10 passing for 131 yards and a touchdown, 20 rushes, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 tackles, an interception. Tavian Ingram, 2 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown. But it was a battle, and boy, it was tough football. And that's the kind of game, and you talk about going, to the end zone after a game. When you go in there against a really good football team and it's just a battle for 4 quarters and you'll win it, there can't be much better than that.
No, absolutely. When you get in, and this is true of all the divisions, but sometimes games like this end up being, I mean, they could very easily, this could be one of the toughest teams they have on the way to state, just the way some of the brackets match up. So Evansville's a really nice program. They battled. Had a great home game again. I mean, what a great opportunity for them in the program, and again, another nice step forward for this program.
When we saw him play, they have
we are the same.
young man that's coming in is a real deal, and he did everything both offensively and defensively. He's all over the field, and they have other guys. Their line, I thought, dominated that game against East when we saw him early on, and those guys know how to play football at Mosinee, and to get that, Coach said, to get a home game, 2 home games to make it to the playoffs. That's a great accomplishment, and I'm sure those guys are looking forward to the next challenge up. But Evansville is a good program, and that's a good win.
And by the way, I was looking at some of the Mosinee stuff, getting ready to talk to Trev Stoffel tonight. The one thing that's sort of, I think, been a little under the radar, at least for me, in terms of talking about them this year, is, and we talk a lot about Trev and Mitchell Michlig is their number 1 receiver, but they had 6 kids who have double digits in terms of catches this year. And I think as you go deeper, and I think, as offensive play caller for you, Paul, but as well for you, Coach Foster, I mean, you have that kind of numbers when you have able to spread the ball around. That's a key in terms of beating good teams, because if you could have a really, really, and again, Trev Stoffel is one of the best players, not only in this area, but in the state, but you got to have multiple players that can help. And I think that's something that Mosinee has developed as the season's gone on.
Yeah, probably not a guy out there whose name is Keegan Jershly, you know what I mean, who kind of did all of the things in all 3 phases when he was there. But I think what Trev does that's so special is he is the run pass threat, which is tough to defend. I mean, he's definitely a huge part of their team, and teams can focus on him, but he can run and throw the ball. And I think probably the thing that's improved the most throughout the course of the year is their efficiency throwing the ball. So when you are 8 for 10 for 130 yards and touchdown, like, that's tough to defend if they're going to, because they also have to put those guys in the box to slow down your running game. So yeah, it's a tremendous player, really great season. And then apparently the question mark has been, right, we know how good he is, but at some point a defense, I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, how many guys do they have focusing on Trev Stoffel every Friday night? And to this point, teams haven't been able to stop him.
Should be a good game. I mean, against Columbus, they both played turnover, and it's about the similar things. So how many guys are going to put in the box when he has 139 carries? That's a lot of carries compared to the next guy with 66. But when we saw him, they had a lot of guys banged up. And, I mean, they were on like their 3rd running back or 4th running back at that time. I don't know exactly what it is. That's how impressive what he does is impressive.
He's been
Yes,
able
they
to,
do.
in a lot of ways,
Well,
carry
that's the
them
same-
when they
it'd be the
needed
same
them the
thing.
most.
Now,
And in
does
fact,
UWSP
that
Wausau
night, and I was
still
thinking,
have
was
a
that
team or
that was
not?
week 5?
Yeah,
They were 2-2
because
at that
that's
point.
where
They had
Cer-
lost
I
to
saw
Lakeland the
this summer
previous
that
week.
he was named their coach,
And
but then
they
I
haven't
didn't
lost
know
since
with all
then,
their changes.
and
if
it's
they
about
still
getting
had a
through
team.
some of those tough times, and then hopefully get a bit
I'll be
healthier
honest.
Well, that's what
and
I'm
have
I
more
thought maybe
opportunities
that's where
with
he
more
would end up when
more
Lakeland or whatever
yes.
they are up
game
there
changers
close.
around you, and it
I
looks
thought
like that's
the way it
because
sounds, it would be no
as their
different.
season's
Right?
gone on, it's just got better and better and better.
Yeah, we talked with them, and I think we talked to coach either week 1 or week 2 this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right after the Stratford game, yep.
And while a lot of teams in their conference made
They
the
would throw
playoffs,
the
there wasn't a
whole
lot of great
scenario out of
teams
the
in their
equation.
conference. So one of the questions was, how battle tested are they? And we give coach a ton of credit because their non-conference games are Stratford and Menasha this year. So I mean, they did the things they needed to do early in the season to put themselves in a position to be prepared for these playoff opponents.
Division 5, second year in a row, Prairie du Chien gave Stratford a battle, but in the end, Stratford able to win again, 28-21. Stratford 9-2, Prairie du Chien 7-4. Brooks Vanderhoof again. He's had some big games on the ground for Stratford. 31 carries, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Brady Berg passing the football efficiently, 8 of 15, 134 yards and 2 scores. 2 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown for Connor Kreft. 308 to 222 in edge in yards for Stratford. It was actually an interesting game in terms of Stratford came out very quickly, took a 14-0 lead. Prairie du Chien came back, tied it up before halftime, 14-14. Went back and forth, 28-14, and then Prairie du Chien scored late. They got the football back in pretty good field position, but the defense came up big when it needed to for Stratford. But again, I mean, Prairie du Chien's going to want to avoid Stratford in the brackets. They battled hard 2 years in a row and have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, when you, I think at the end of the when this run is done for Stratford or whatever it is,
Will it ever end? Though?
well, it's a great point. But and I think when it's time to reflect on. I know there was a lot of people thinking the sky was falling in Stratford through 2 weeks of this season and questioning the new head coach and all that. But when you look at what they've done since that time, and that playing in Division 5, a Division 6 school, playing up in Division 5, the year after they literally graduated just about every person who played a really big role in those 3 consecutive state championships. I think this is a heck of a job. I mean, it's been an incredible ride and great accomplishment thus far for these players, as well as what the coach has been able to do to right the ship and just what appears to be keep getting better each week.
And I think they had somebody was out, I think, the first couple games too, which plays a big part into sometimes it's not when you play a team or it's not who you play, it's when you play them and things like that. So those losses might have been a little different too. We don't know. I'm not saying that they would have won those games for sure, but it does change the complexion of a team.
It matters.
It matters. I mean,
That's what it comes down
it
to.
matters. And so I think you're seeing the real team right now, and it'll be a great game.
And up next for Stratford is Tomahawk. Tomahawk number 1 seed, and they beat Spencer Columbus 34-12. Tomahawk 10-1. Spencer Columbus finishes 6-5. Tegan Sarrazin 19 rushes, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Rex Riley 10 tackles for Tomahawk. Jack Habert had some big games, was held pretty well in check. 11 rushes, 57 yards. Quarterback Devin Timler 7 of 17 for the Rockets, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns, also an interception. But I have to admit that when we talked about Spencer Columbus so often this year, I thought they were going to go in there and they were going to end the Cinderella run for Tomahawk. And not only did they not, Tomahawk was very impressive in earning that win.
Yeah, I think when I watch the highlights of this game and when we talk about them week in and week out, how many different ways they found to win. They've won close games. They've blown teams out that were really surprising. And then the names just keep changing. It's the same names, but it seems like, sometimes I feel like they're playing different positions each week. Like 1 week it seems like, and I think there's multiple Rileys, but 1 week I feel like he's the quarterback. The next week I feel like he's the running back, leading rusher. The following week he's the leading tackler. So yeah, just a really impressive run for Coach Riley and Tomahawk. And I think Spencer Columbus is one of those teams that can reflect back and say that program took a nice step forward this year.
They have if you look at their offensive stats, their defense is their offensive stats are okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like and spread around quite a bit from passing and rushing and everything else. But
and they did have a quarterback change because of an injury in the middle of the season. So I think that adds to it, but continue.
Yeah, I mean, they have balance offensively, but for this game coming up, for example, it's going to be in that if it gets higher than 20 points, I think they're going to be in trouble. It's because Stratford, if they're going to get you going, but if it's under 20, that's going to be where they want to play in this particular game. And they've done a great job, like Coach said, that they win close games, they've won blowout, they won all different ways, which you're going to be in a tough situation.
Also in D5, Wittenberg-Burnhamwood from the CWC fell to Lake Country Lutheran, a top seed, 35-14. Lake Country Lutheran, we hear about them, I think, this time of year every year, almost. 10-1. Whitburn finishes 5-6. 21-0 at halftime, and Lake Country Lutheran held on for the win. Had a solid night from their quarterback, Connor Lubens, 14 of 19, 124 yards, 3 scores. Run game was there, 17 rushes for Nathan Graff, 104 yards and a touchdown. But I just think that Wittenberg-Burnhamwood has to be very proud of what they were able to accomplish. I mean, their record is not as good as it easily could have been. They had 2 overtime losses. I mean, that's a big percentage of their season right now. The Tomahawk and the Stratford. I mean, 2 teams that are playing level 3. And to lose their quarterback with a knee injury, expected to be one of the most dynamic players in Central Wisconsin this year. I think that, again, one of the things that I know you guys always talk about in terms of what's important about high school sports is the life lessons. And that was a team right from the beginning. They had to go through a lot of tough times, and they came through it pretty well. And to get a win on the road in the playoffs, again, I think Whitburn continues, like they have for a number of years now, to really have a solid program.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to how they became a level 2 football program this year, is because they do have such strong tradition there. They run the football, they play really good defense, and they're always really strong up front. So injuries to those skilled players probably are the reason for the 5-6 overall record, but they probably are closer to a 6 or 7-4, maybe even an 8-3 type football team. Very well coached, very, very strong tradition. And unless something pretty remarkable happened, Lake Country Lutheran is a really, really good football program. So interesting, probably their record played a role in when this matchup happened, but tough way to end, a lot to be proud of for the Chargers this year.
And it's been a great decade, because the last time that you played an 11-player football game, it was against Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, and they'd come off a tough year because it was an extra game. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
But that
program
has really been consistently good. Like your program's been consistently good since that point as well. But Whitburn, and they had such a long 20-year playoff run, and then they were down for about a decade, and now for the last decade they've been really good.
Yep, I was going to say the exact thing. You took the words out of my mouth. Coach Moore, I think, was there for many years there before that, and then he retired, and it kind of again go up and down. And I forgot to even mention that Central Wisconsin, this is another good program, because the last 10 years the expectation is to go into the playoffs, which is number 1, like Coach talked about, and then number 2 is then how many games you can win and things like that. And they got everything out of them, maximized considering the injuries. They had a great season.
And I would say, pound for pound, when we talk conferences, this conference, when you look at Amherst, Stratford, Wittenberg, Burnhamwood, and those teams who are competing each year to get to that next level, this is a tough conference.
Amherst, another of those teams, now 10-1. They roughed up Brillion 40-13. Aiden Nerdahl, he's had a massive year for Amherst. He had 212 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Michael Gladowski, the quarterback, was very, very efficient, to say the least. 7 of 10, 151 yards, 2 scores. Receiver Sully Perkins, 5 catches, 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it was dominant, 20-0 at halftime, 40-0 after 3. And you and I have been talking about this. They had such a great start, and then they had some games where it was not exactly blowout. They had to struggle in a couple of games there towards the end, and then they had that big Week 9 win against Whitburn. And the last couple of weeks in the playoffs, they have just been dominant.
Yeah, great team, great program. Makes you wonder, kind of, Coach brought it up before, were there some injuries in some of those stretches for them this year? Because I mean, we kind of had crowned them, you know what I mean? The team that knocked Stratford off this year and kind of run away with that championship, and Stratford got that win. But yeah, obviously a great team, great win for them. Brilliant, another consistently strong program. So good win for them, and they just keep rolling.
And they beat the injuries that Coach was talking about. They beat Winnebago Lutheran their second game, and Winnebago Lutheran has one of the most dynamic quarterbacks you would see. They actually played Mayville then last week, who they play this week, Mayville, and it was 28-21. And I was told that Winnebago Lutheran quarterback is a real deal. and they beat him 35-8 in the second game. So my guess is that there must have been something that happened in there in the middle of the season, but it looks like they got it straightened out, and that should be a barn burner on Friday night.
Division 6, level 1, Edgar had to struggle and win it in a last-second touchdown pass. No such worries last week. Edgar stays perfect, beating Poynette 42-0. And again, the numbers don't just jump off the page. Maverick Butt, 14 carries, 90 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tyler Schmidt, 8 tackles, an interception, 236 rushing yards as a team. But the big number that always stands out is that defensive number. 2 defensive numbers. Number 1, 107 yards of total offense for Poynette. And of course, the big number is the big 0 next to their score.
Yeah, Coach Sins could sleep again this week. So that was good after giving up the points he did the week before. But I think the other thing, what is his recipe? He does the exact same thing in every practice of each week leading up through these playoff games as he's been doing for 40 plus years, including Maverick Butt has 14 rushes. A back like that should probably have 25, 30 rushes, have 150, 200 yards. But Coach, once that game was in control, there's absolutely no reason for Maverick Butt to be touching the football and risking not being able to play next week. So just a absolute machine, another great win, another great shutout for the Wildcats, and super excited to see him keep rolling in D6.
You don't miss playing Edgar, do you?
No, you know what you're going to get from them, which is incredible. And the coach said, look at the stats; they don't blow you off the water offensively, but that defensive stats, that's where it leaves people have nightmares. Poynette's not a bad team, and to come up there and to do that to them, that's an impressive win.
And then Wyowega Fremont, another CWC team, a CWC large team. They fell to Manitowoc Lutheran undefeated, 35-22. It's 21-0 after 1, but then Wyowega Fremont made it a game, made it 28-22 after 3. But we're not able to come up at the end. And actually, when I talked about Amherst and some of the close games, one of those was Wyowega Fremont. And Wyowega sort of kind of had an ebb and flow of the year, but again, they finished. And again, it shows how good that conference is. They were ready for the playoffs and everything. They took a number 1 seed on the road right down to the wire.
Yep. Battle tested, right? You go through that conference, you make sure you get enough, you win the games you absolutely have to, you battle like crazy in the ones you might have a chance in, take your lumps in a couple for sure, but then you want to make sure you win enough games to make the playoffs so you can go compete, and that's exactly what they did this year.
Anything to add?
Yeah, the coach is saying that conference is just battle tested, and if you would try to do is stay healthy through it, because you get to the playoffs so you can make that run. Sometimes it's better when, I don't want to say you're not battle tested. You want to be battle tested earlier so you can get those guys maybe heal back up and back on. Which, again, if you look at Edgar, the great thing about what Coach Sins does, think about all those extra practices over the years, because they're in the playoffs and things like that. And the healthy bodies they have because they can play a lot of guys and not have to jeopardize that. The more you're on the field, the more you got a chance to get injured. And a school like Edgar, and so in that conference, you really don't get a weekend off in that with Wyowega Fremont and Amherst.
When kind of the other teams, and I know they're not in the same conference, but when you look at a Spencer Columbus and a Loyal Greenwood, who both took nice steps forward this year and had really nice season, that's the magic for them, right? To compete against those teams and put your best foot forward, but also to be able to come out at the end of the week and not have 4 2A players who aren't able to play the following week because of it.
And find a way to get those wins again into the playoffs. Because so often a team in those conferences, and actually this year, Loyal Greenwood would not have been in the playoffs under the old system because they were only 2-4 or 2-5 in the conference. They started 4-0, but 2 of those wins were non-conference. But because they were the strength of the wins, they got in the playoffs. So again, it's just very interesting.
And that's why I like that, because they had to have injuries. And maybe I'm wrong, but Stratford the week before beat them 50-0.
Right.
And it wasn't even close. And they come back the following week and 21-14 and almost had Edgar on the ropes. Yeah. There's no doubt that they had guys missing that game before that. And that's what the great thing to let a school like that get in when they actually probably deserve to be in.
Yep. And I wanted to throw out the quarterfinals of the 8 player since you're here. And last week's results, and just get your take on them. You had and there were really no close games last week, so it shows, I think, a real strength at the top. McDonald beat Flambeau, who was undefeated going into that game, and I know you saw Flambeau a couple weeks ago, but McDonald beat Flambeau 66-30. Gilman still undefeated, 36-0 over North Crawford. Lena St. Thomas Aquinas, who had a battle with Athens last week, beat Wabeno Leona 38-14, and Oakfield over Sevastopol 38-0. I know that you know the game as well as anybody. What did those quarterfinal games say to you?
Probably what the results were. Probably what I would have thought. Some of the scores maybe are a little different than North Crawford's a really good team, and they probably could be that could have been a state championship game. To be honest with you, North Crawford's probably one of the top couple teams. They kind of fell apart there in the middle of the game, and it exploded, and it kind of turned into a rout. Oakfield beating Sevastopol that bad. I don't know if Sevastopol, they did a great job of getting there. So Oakfield, I would have expected. McDonald is a machine. I think when they got Division I guy that is going on both lines, the same guy, and they have a lot of guys. McDonald is for 8-man when you have that much depth, and you can. I would have took about 20 of his guys on there, and so they're a well-oiled machine. And then the last one, Lena St. Thomas, they had a tough one against Athens the week before, and they need to get over Leona Wabeno. So those games all kind of probably what I would have expected. The scores might be a little different, and it should set up a great week of semifinals.
Should we ask them to pick a champion, or should we not?
How about not?
Let's transfer now. Let's go to our normal coach interview now. Let's talk a little bit about your team and your season and your program and where you are this year. I mean, it was, and I know, seeing you during the course of the season, and it was in a lot of ways a hard year, wasn't it?
Yeah, the last couple of years have been with. Sometimes it reminded me of going back to that year we played Wittenberg, and sometimes you're trying to survive instead of just going out and coaching, which is a lot more enjoyable. And because you don't like to see any of your players down, injured, and suffering and out, and kids that love being out there, love enjoying it. And it's not even just the football. They love being out there with the guys at practice. It's not even just the games. It's the practices, and it's an empty feeling. And I was unfortunate. I know I missed a couple games my senior year, for example. And when you feel out of you have to work hard to make sure that those kids know that they are part of that team yet, and start of that group, because it's a lonely feeling as an athlete when you're hurt and you see your teammates are going in the games and playing, and you have nothing. You can't go out there, and so there's a lot of emotions that are going into as a coach when you're dealing with the injuries. Not just like, who am I going to put in for that guy? You're also dealing with making sure that everybody's okay mentally and physically as time goes on, and things like that. So it has been a struggle the last 2 years. I'm very proud of what they got out of their seasons, every single one of those players, for both years. And it's been a joy. Our coaching staff was a great to be with this year. And not that it's not every year, but with Coach Grundy and Coach Gress coming aboard, it was fun. It was they brought something to the table, and I appreciate what they did. And every day at practice was a fun day. It was an enjoyable day. And when you got out there at 3:30, you kind of could just coach football. Everything else went good, and the kids did everything we asked of them.
Yeah, we talked earlier about how do you get better, right? In controlling the things you can control. In a year like this, injuries are not something you can control. Like or the last 2 years, really. I mean, I feel like we spend as much time talking about those things when we talked about Newman Catholic the last 2 years as we did that. I don't think people quite understand how much goes in. what's the cliche or the mentality? Next man up, right? But that's that's what the kids who are still able-bodied and ready to play need to hear. But the reality of it is there's a human being sitting over there who either has to miss this week or the rest of the season. And what is that? What are those communications? I think it's important for parents to hear and understand that this isn't Division I college football. This isn't the NFL. As much of your time goes into helping those kids. Like, what are the conversations? What are the roles you give those kids to ensure that they're still part of the program and moving forward?
Yeah, we try to do, with one of the guys, I tried to have him help me when I was flipping the linemen. I gave him the responsibility of, hey, during the game, you're flipping the guard for me, and trying to give them something to be part of, which it was helpful. I mean, everything was. And a lot of those different injuries, if you know they're coming back, or if you don't know they're coming back, you got to vary on that situation too, because the young man that, you go visit after surgery, after ACL surgery or whatever surgery they would have, this is the ACL one. And so, he's not going to be able to even come to school for a week or whatever. And trying to keep him involved with the team, talking to him about the team, trying to keep him up with, hey, you play that position. Can you help the next guy up here? He hasn't really played that much. And can you make sure you're always in his ear when you're watching film, tell him where to go. And so when we get together, that they have a responsibility. And it's always something. Hey, can you be with this here? You're going to go with the quarterbacks today. In this situation, be one, so you can throw with them maybe because it's the lower body. It's a non-stop making sure that you're doing something that I don't think people do understand. That it doesn't leave your head, Coach. You've been a coach for many years. It doesn't leave your mind. It doesn't, as a coach, it doesn't leave your mind of how can I do this? How can I get better with him? How can I make him feel more involved? How can I make sure that I don't lose him, and not lose him because it's going to affect the team. You just want to make sure they know how important they were and are to that team. And if it's a sophomore or junior, it might be a little different story too, because they have another year, so you can kind of go off of that. But when it's a senior, and you're getting on a bus and you're thinking to yourself, that's the last time he probably walked off the field. He doesn't know it yet. And your mind starts thinking at 10 o'clock at night when you're getting on that bus from Marion, Wisconsin, and going, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to make sure he stays involved? It's a long process.
First, when you went to 8-player, there were a number of years where there really weren't many injuries. Has the change with maybe some of these former Cloverwood schools moving to 8-player? I mean, again, you're not in the same conference as they were this year, but is it just luck? I mean, is there anything that you see the last couple of years that's been a little different? Is the game getting more physical? I guess that's your thought, because I thought, you talked about the last couple of years in the Cloverwood 11-player. That was a very physical conference. I mean, you were playing a lot of teams that were bigger numbers, and it really wore your teams down. And then you went to 8-player, and I think for a number of years there was not that many injuries, and that's a key to being as successful as you were. And now the last couple of years has been, I think, just many more injuries. Is it maybe sometimes a run of bad luck? Is there something that's changed? Do you see anything?
Sometimes it's it could be the teams or whatever, and because we're this year and last year, the teams were more compact play in, we like to play in space a little bit more, and a lot of teams we were playing before were in space, and the last couple of years now everything is tight together, so that could be a factor. But we've gone through it. We thought we corrected one, and we got a great donation so we had all these top flight helmets, and we didn't have a concussion this year. So I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that was one thing we eliminated from. You're trying to always look at this stuff. Again, this is not something that we just kind of wake up and go, why did this happen? A lot of them have been fluke. We got an ankle last year. He was running out of bounds and he stepped wrong, and there you go with the ankle. One a broken wrist was he ran into his own teammate and he broke his wrist. A lot of these are fluke injuries. So sometimes you got to chalk it up to fluke injuries, and sometimes I got to look at myself and make sure that we are as strong and big as we need to be able to compete. And so we got to get stronger and quicker and faster, and that's another thing that we have to get better at. And you're always trying to get better yourself, and that's hopefully what we're going to do this offseason is get bigger, stronger, faster, and try to eliminate any those injuries that we can control. Some of them you can't control. I don't think Kraft on Sunday. What is he going to do? I mean, some of the stuff you can't control.
Frankly, some real fast before you jump in. Sometimes I said this recently to somebody. I said, when you watch football, you're almost surprised that there's not more injuries. When you see all these guys on the field, big, strong, falling at different angles. Sometimes it's a miracle when people aren't injured. It's really crazy at times, isn't it?
Do you remember? I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I don't remember when I played an ACL injury ever happening. I mean, and this is in the 90s. I don't know. I don't know why that's happening. I don't know or what is. I mean, have you seen more of it?
Oh yeah. I feel like when we talk injuries, I think I had 3 years in a row at West where our best player tore his ACL early in the season, and I mean, I guess I always look at it at the highest level, right, in the NFL. Those guys are just so dang big and move so well, and so bodies that size aren't supposed to move that fast, and I think that's where a lot of it comes from. And I think we're seeing that in high school too, right? Our kids work really hard. We don't have 300-pounders who are running 4.8 40s, but at the same time, we do have the collisions. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I think the amount of turf we have in high school football now plays a role. I love it. I wouldn't change it. We're super happy to have the turf that we have, but I think that there's certainly some evidence and research out there that shows that plays a role in it as well.
A lot of different factors and factors we can't control.
Right. I love hearing from coaches on stuff like this. So you look at your body of work, right? Your career as an 11-man coach through 8-man. Obviously, you are a Hall of Fame coach, and not done anytime soon. We're not putting you in the ground or anything. But when you reflect back on the gold balls and the championships, and then years like the last 2 years, that playoff teams, right? Still really good years, but that don't end in a gold ball. People look and say, God, the championships. That's why he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach in that. The reality is you probably coach a lot harder and a lot differently the last 2 years, and there's probably as much, if not more, to be proud of at the end of those seasons as there are when you go injury-free and have a group of super gifted athletes. I mean, you don't take anything away from those wins and those championships, but people don't understand how much harder and how much more you have to put into a season like this. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, thank you, Coach, for the compliments, and I appreciate it. And it is what you just said is I do remember those years, and this year I had a great time. And again, this is not about me. I'm just saying that I think that we did as a coaching staff. The kids got their life lessons. They had fun. They were smiling after every game, even ones that we would come back home and it didn't go our way. And I just go, as they were coming through the locker room on the way out, I'm like, did you guys have fun tonight? It's still good? And everyone with a smile told me that they did. And those are the victories. Those are the wins that we need, and I want as a coach is those victories, because it's a lot easier to smile when everything's going peachy keen. And I'm not saying that I want to go to an 0 season. I'm not saying that that I want those. Like. I don't want that, because I know what that's like too. And I know how that you have to get through that too, and how to jump over the landmine, so to speak. But these last couple of years and in this year, I mean, we mixed a lot of things offensively and defensively. We would be sitting there going through it on Sunday, and you know, I love when Coach Thorpe and we get together on Sunday and we go through this stuff, and it's, we're there 6-7 hours after a Packer game or before a Packer game and going through it. And that is, I live for those days. I mean, those are the fun days. It makes for what life is all about, and to try to put something together and see what we can do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that is part of life. And it's a lot easier when you're winning the gold ball. Everything works. You can just throw it out there and you probably don't need to do anything. Not saying we did that, but it's the whole process, and the whole has gotten, I feel, we've gotten very good smooth at the process and making sure that the kids are getting the whole process and enjoying every step along the way. And it's fun. I despite losing the last game, which most teams do, this was a rewarding season for me and for that team and for the coaching staff, and we're happy with what we did.
Earlier today, the doorbell rang, and it was Patrick Meverton. Was he your first quarterback?
Yeah.
How are the kids different from the first year that you coached to now? Or is there any difference? Because usually I'll ask you how you changed as a coach. I think we did that last year. But how are the kids different? How do you deal with the kids? Do you deal with the kids any differently now than you did back in 2002 when you first started?
Yeah, but that might not have been the kids. That might have been me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I don't know for sure. Because you're trying to play the game. You know what I mean? Like, when we're first starting out, I mean, the first game that I had the head coaching spot was against Egder. How would you like to open up on that? I was destined to
You're like 24
fail.
Years old.
On there, yeah, I was a little kid there, and
I would like to see your game plan for that day. That would be an interesting one because
stay alive.
Like dodgeball, right?
Yeah. We were just getting thrown. I mean, so a lot of things have changed. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that the kids have changed, because most of the time it probably isn't the kids. It's probably the adults.
I'm
might be me.
not saying that they're better or worse. Or
I'm not
anything.
saying better or worse either.
No, it's like that's when I saw Pat's in business. And we're talking about the business, and it's like every one of these guys that you now see getting married, having kids, and all this good stuff. It's just now you're seeing you've had a chance to see these kids just grow, and it's got to be just an incredible privilege to see. I think, and again, I think we've said this before, that anybody who says, "Oh, the kids aren't what they used to be," give me a break. I mean, nobody's the same, but different is good. I think in a lot of ways. I mean, these kids work exceptionally hard, don't they? They
do, but Pat did too. Pat was a great guy.
Yeah, I mean,
and you might have been talking about his wife.
That's exactly. What
and she's a great person too. I mean, they're both, like he said, the Newman alumni, and great people, great family, and I would expect that we would have the kids that we have now. Our goal is, I would hope, is that they're going to be in 10 to 15 years doing the same thing as Pat and everybody else that has come through there. Have I changed? Yeah, I've changed. But I think you don't want to change for the negative. I changed because I was 24 years old and I didn't know what I was doing. And you hope along the way you talk to people that know what they're doing and you learn, and that's the best way to do it. And I didn't want to walk into a spot. I knew I didn't know anything. I mean, you think you know some stuff, but there's a lot of stuff you don't know. And you surround yourself by good people. You ask good people questions, and you find out how to get better. And then once you get 4 or 5 years in, then I think you can kind of start doing it your way, so to speak, or how you want it to look like. But if I would go back and tell myself, I would go back to that first year and go reach out more, find out more of things. I don't think I'll be honest, I don't know if our record would have changed.
Right. Because
we were way down there. Yes. I mean, for 3 of the 4 teams that year went to the semifinals, and in Division 6. So I think I have changed. The kids have changed. Yeah, but they've changed, but I don't know if it's not for the worse or not for the better. It's just that they change in time.
I think the fact that you've done it for going on 25 years here, says the kids have changed, right? And like you said, it's not for the better, it's not for the worse they have. And if you're going to do it for 25 years, you got to change along with them. Probably the thing that's changed the most is probably the parents, right? For some for the better, some for the worse as well. But if you're going to do this with any longevity in this day and age, you have to be able to, like, the way we were coached in high school, that doesn't fly anymore. So, and there's still some guys floating around out there who are still doing, who kind of have that, and it's probably not the best way to do it. We know that.
Yep.
But when you kind of look at the evolution, I always thought this, and I miss it, and I'd at some point hope to go back at some level. My dream, I think, at this point is to coach freshman football. But when I reflect back over time, and you tell me what your thoughts are on this, is those first few years, you're trying to get as much information as you can, and then you just keep trying new things. But at some point over the course of that 20-plus year career, you realize this is the right way to do it. And you start doing it that way and you still adjust a little bit from year to year, but you kind of create your core values and what matters most to you, because you're the one giving the overall message and leading the program, and then the kids kind of get on board with that. That was kind of the evolution as a head coach for myself, was these are our values this year, and this is how we're gonna change this year. And at the end of the day, football, all athletics, high school in particular, you're just stealing, right?
Yep.
You're just taking somebody else's good idea. There's no new ideas in football, so you find out who you are as a head coach, and you do that to the best of your ability, and that becomes your identity as both an individual and as a program.
Yep, I agree 100%. He's spot on, and that's how we did it, and everybody's in a different spot too, because what works at Wausau West might not work at Newman. What works at Newman might not work at Everest. It can go for the school size, the population, or how you mentioned it about Arrowhead. And I heard they had like press boxes. Yeah. You were telling me they had like press boxes. It was like a Division III school over there, maybe even better in college. And their kids might be different than what is at Wausau East or Wausau West. And so you're always going to be, even you have the core values, but if that core values, you go from Newman to somewhere else, the core values are going to go with you, and then the outside of it is going to have to adjust, because you're going to have to adjust to your surroundings of it. And that's kind of because I don't think, if you want to look at it, like Wisconsin, they might have their same core values, but did they lose? I'm just using them example. Did they lose what they're outside, because what fits at Wisconsin is not going to be the same as what's in Alabama? And I guess that's from going to the higher level. That's how I think for high school you look at it, is you're trying to keep those core values all the time, and then the outsides you are adjusting to your surroundings.
As amazing as Coach Stephen Hagen, we all can relate to Coach Stephen Hagen. As amazing as he was, we can't beat Coach Stephen Hagen. I mean, that's who he was. My first coaching job was with Coach Ken Beagle from Rapids, who's also Hall of Fame, kind of not quite Stephen Hagen, but in probably the same breath from a conference standpoint. And I learned a ton from him my first 4 years as a coach. Some of it was what I'm never, ever going to do. And I love Coach Beagle, but like, that's not who I am. That's not what my personality is, or how I can treat people or parents or whatever. Not saying anything negative, but a lot of what you learn is how you're not going to do things as well.
Yep. And even this year with Coach Grundy, Coach Grundy's Coach Grundy.
Yes, he is.
Paul Michlig's Paul Michlig. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that we're not going to do, and we're not all the same person. And if you try to be that person, the reality of it is it's not going to work out for you.
Yeah, be good to who you are at the core. Because one thing that kids can do, I imagine, is they can see when you're not being authentic.
Yes. So
that's obviously very important. There's still a lot to talk about. We got to take a top of the hour break and then talk to Trev Stoffel about if you're going to stay around and talk about the other games, and a few more questions about where your program is going.
Yeah, of course.
So, but we're going to talk to Trev Stoffel after the news. We have a top of the hour news update coming up here, and then we'll have hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show. Again, our student athlete guest Trev Stoffel coming up in 6 minutes here on 98.9 WXCO. And welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Also, you can catch us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel there as well. Along with Jason Foster, I am Chad Holmes, and as we do every week, the start of the second hour, we get an opportunity to talk to our student-athlete guest. And tonight, from Mosinee High School senior Trev Stoffel. Trev, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a fantastic season for you and for your team as you get set for Level 3 playoff action. I want to kind of step back to the start of the year. You've had so much success at Mosinee in sports. What were your goals starting your senior year? And it doesn't have to be just football, but going into your senior year, what were you thinking about in terms of what you want to accomplish in this final go-around at Mosinee?
Just stay healthy and have a lot of fun with the guys I have with me. And since the start, we've done that, and we've been winning games, winning conference, and now winning second round. So it's been awesome.
My first question for you is, how you feeling? Because when I look at what you do every Friday night, it's pretty amazing to me how healthy you looked when you walked through the door today. Like, I guess first off, seriously, how are you? Are you healthy? Are you feeling good?
Yeah.
And second off, what do you feel like at the end of a game Friday night when I look at the amount of offense, how much you run, how much you throw, how much you play defense? What toll does that take on your body?
It takes a lot. I mean, the next 2 days, I'm not moving from the couch most of the time, so it's a lot on the body, on the mind. But
and what do you do in particular? I know your dad's the head coach, so he probably knows more about it than most. What did you do this off season to make sure you were physically ready? Because you knew, right? You kind of had a similar role last year, and knowing as a senior that role is going to get even more on your shoulders. So what did you do in this off season to prepare physically for it? And what is your diet, sleep, exercise in season? What do you do to keep your body as healthy as possible other than get plenty of rest on the weekends?
So in the summer, we lifted 4 times a week and ran 4 times a week. So sticking to that schedule really helped. And then eating 4 or 5 meals a day really kept the metabolism going, kept my body right. And then during the regular weeks, we lift twice a week, so that keeps my body pretty solid. And then I have a couple sandwiches throughout the day that help me get going. So
let's talk about the season for your team to begin with. Started off a great win against Stratford, had a tough loss against Menasha, had another tough way in your second game. You had the Merrill win by 7 points, but then the Lakeland loss, and all of a sudden you're 2-2. You already had a conference loss, and I know at Mosinee you want to win the GNC, you want to try to get as high a seed as possible. And since then, it just seemed like something clicked. 7 wins in a row, and not only that, it seems like they've been building. Week after week, it seems like your team gets a little bit better every week. Is that the sense for your team? But I guess, what was your sense maybe after 4 games when you're 2-2?
It was hard. I mean, losing to Lakeland was like, whoa. Like, what's our identity? What are we going to do from here? And we had to tell our guys we got to step up, or we're not going to do well this season. And they did for the most part. I mean, this like you said, the switch flicked, and we turned it up. So
to some extent, do you feel like the season you had has prepared you to get to this level 3 game and the success you've had in the playoffs, because you didn't just completely dominate during the season and were outright conference champs? Like, you had to work a little bit harder too. Like, I mean, I remember the week you guys played Merrill, and they gave you guys a really good game too, and we started talking about. And Merrill ended up having a really nice season as well. Made it to level 2, had a home playoff game. So do you think that the journey, while it's different this year than probably you had it drawn up, or what the storybook might say, has maybe helped prepare you guys more for what's ahead?
Definitely. I think it simmered down our ego a little bit and put that chip on our shoulder. And I think we've stuck with that and been solid throughout, and not expected to win.
Was there any talk, or did it just happen? Was there in the locker room or at school, or just hanging out with your teammates or your coaches say something? Was it just, hey, we kind of figured it out ourselves, or was there a moment that may have helped the process along a little bit?
I think just working hard in practice. Like we figured it out, and we found that next gear. We found that intensity we needed to find, and then we're like, whoa, we can do this. We can play at this type of level, and from then on, we played at that type of level, and we've been pretty dominant. So.
Chad talks about this week in and week out, and he's absolutely right that not only are you one of the best players in our area, but one of the best players in our state. And what challenges go into that? We've kind of talked about the physical toll, the mental, from a game planning standpoint, right? I mean, teams are saying that's the guy. Like we have to shut down, and week in and week out, you kind of bring the same numbers back to the table with that on board. I know that, and I know you're about to tell me that doesn't happen by yourself, right? Like there's 10 other guys on both sides of the ball in special teams. Who are the other guys? I mean, obviously we don't hear as much about them when you have as great of a season as you're having. They don't get as much press. But who are the other guys who really make up this team and give Mosinee its identity this year?
I mean, it's really everybody. I mean, if you look at our stats, our receptions, pretty spread out. But Mitchell Michlig's the go-to guy. He's my right side receiver, and our line has really been dominant. Like everybody, we're flying around, we're staying low, firing out, and then our run game has been better than it's ever been ever. So we had a couple injuries early in the year, but our running back now is actually a receiver to start the year. Carter Fondra, he's back at running back, and he's a workhorse. I mean, really helps.
Let's talk about the two-way aspect, because one of the things that's so impressive is number one, being the quarterback is such a big responsibility for any football team, to be able to do that. And then you add the aspect that you're expected to throw the ball double digits plus a game, and then you're expected to run the football double digits plus a game, and then you don't even get to go on the sideline and talk things over with the coach. You have to get back out there and play defense. I'll start with the easy question. In terms of offense and defense, do you have one that you prefer to play? The one that maybe that gets the juices going even a little bit more than the other, or is it similar?
I think it leans a little more towards defense. I mean, flying around hitting people is just so freaking fun. So,
and from a weekly game prep standpoint, what do you have to spend more time on from a film watching and implementation?
Just my reads, what I have to read, what I have to figure out, what they're doing, and then how to fill, where to fill, and then what my guys do, and kind of figure out where they need my help the best.
I may have asked this last year. Maybe it just sticks in my mind. I'm not sure. But being a quarterback, you talk about reading on the defensive side. Being a quarterback, does it help you defensively, maybe to put yourself in the mind of the opposing quarterback? That maybe, hey, this is maybe something that he's thinking about in this moment that may give you that little bit of an edge to make a play on the defensive side.
Yeah, definitely in the pass game, like going through the progressions and reads, like that's not there. Okay, and what's the next read? And I kind of feel that as I go on, but not many teams we play past the ball, so it's kind of hard to do that.
That's right.
Tell me about some of the other guys on defense. Who's really stepped up for you this year?
Probably the biggest one who stepped up is a sophomore, Braden McCodlow. He's a motor dude. Just gets after it, never gives up on the play. And then, I mean, just overall, we're solid. We're gritty. Like we're mean. I mean, we're gonna get nasty. We're gonna get filthy down there in the trenches. So,
kind of a mindset and a toughness.
Yeah,
is that kind of
that chip on your shoulder? Yeah.
I'm on that same line. You talk about maybe that edge to your team, and frankly, the first time that I saw it in terms of some of the results was when you went late in the season to Medford and not only won the football game but went in there and just dominated.
Yeah.
Was that maybe the culmination of both the mindset and maybe just physically everybody really on the same page? Because that kind of that sometimes you notice scores and other times you don't notice scores. I noticed that score.
Yeah.
What was that night? What did that night mean maybe in the last couple of weeks?
I think it just proved like if we can put our minds to it and be physically ready, we can compete with anyone out there. So.
One of the challenges coaches and teams and programs have when you make it on these runs in the playoffs, level 3. Then you start talking about semifinals, all those things. We're not putting anything ahead of anything else, but all of a sudden, the winter sports teams start practicing, and those coaches, and you got guys who are wrestlers and hockey players and basketball players. How hard is it for you and your teammates to stay dialed in, or is it none of that stuff even crept into your minds yet?
For me, none of that's crept into my mind, but there's some guys that want to get going on the next ones. Just, we want you here in the moment and just not risk anything to not let you play or make you play the next week. So
Again, we're talking to Trev Stoffel, who is a senior at Mosinee High School, our student-athlete guest this week on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. Well, let's talk about other sports. We're going to have it seep into your mind for a couple of moments here before we can start talking a little bit more about this week's game. You're a three-sport athlete. You're football, big cog on your boys' basketball team, playing the spring and baseball. How do you put it all together? I mean, that's a lot on the plate, and then of course you have your schoolwork and your social life, and just being a high school kid.
Yeah.
How do you put it all together? How do you try to balance it all?
I just try to stay consistent in the summer. That's a big thing. Try to even things out. Do this one day, do this the other day, and just kind of lifting really helps all three. So that's been a really benefit to me. But I mean, I kind of rely on other sports to keep me interested in the other ones because I don't know, football year round you can't do it. It's just not gonna happen. So having a little break in other sports it's really fun. So
Chad mentioned schoolwork. What is your favorite class or subject area, and who's your favorite teacher?
My favorite subject is probably history, but my favorite teacher, that's a good question. Probably Mr. Derricks. He's my economics teacher right now. So
I love history myself, so I'm curious. Is there a specific type of history that you find yourself that you're interested in more than any other?
I mean, wars fascinate me. Not not in
a
a bad way, but the strategic
Right.
mind game behind it, and I don't like the real gory stuff, but it's not. Yeah, I'm not saying this in a bad way.
The violent stuff, right?
Yeah, that's not good,
good.
in any way, but I like the strategic, psychological game behind it.
Absolutely.
So,
What about let's talk about the other sports. Basketball. You had a nice season a year ago. Number one for folks. What's your position on the hardwood?
I'm kind of like a point forward. I bring up the ball most of the time, but I'm more of a inside guy slasher.
What do you like about basketball? What's the best part of being part of that team?
How fast the game is. How much you have to react, and how many quick thinking plays you have to make in a game. It's a lot of fun and just flying around, being an athlete. So that's a big thing.
So you are a coach's kid, which is awesome.
Forever.
I love. Yep.
Forever, yeah.
That's awesome, and which makes your other coaches probably very excited because being a coach's kid brings certain attributes and talents to the table. How is it being coached? We've had your dad on several times, and he's talked about the relationship. Number one, how is it being coached by your dad? And then number two, do you also enjoy then the other sports and being coached by other people too, just to kind of round out that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome having my dad as a coach, but at this point it's pretty normal, so I'm not too worried about it now. But at times he gets on me pretty hard, which he should, so that's all right. And then coaching from other people is good because you need that break every once in a while. You need different beliefs and thinking in your thoughts, except from your own bias. So I really like it. So
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one older brother and one younger sister.
Who is the best athlete?
Definitely my sister.
Oh.
She will probably be the best athlete.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah, pretty sure your dad gave the same answer.
Yes, he did. What advantages having your brother maybe go through a lot of the same things that you've gone through? Has that helped you in any way?
Yeah, it's kind of put a chip on my shoulder. He's he's a big influence on my life and in my sports life. So trying to be what he's done and what he's accomplished is huge, and it's a big motivator for me.
Where are you at as far as next year? Do you have a
I want to
plan?
play
Are you
college
trending
football,
somewhere?
but I have not really trended towards a place yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet. We'll figure that out soon. After the season, probably.
There you go.
Well, one quick question about that, because I always find it interesting, that process. Because in your case, you're saying, okay, I'm going to kind of keep a stiff arm off it
Right.
for a little while. Is it a distraction? Is it something that is difficult to kind of have out there? What is again? Because that's the sense I've always gotten. Because when we talk to those who have made that decision, it feels like there's always a big weight lifted off.
Yeah. No,
it's kind of always there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very stressful for me right now, and people have always asked, and it's like, yeah, I haven't really got to that.
But do you spend a lot of time right now communicating with coaches? I would have to
Yes,
think you have a lot of people reaching out to you
Yes.
and kind of showing you a lot of love and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So partially nice, I would assume, but,
Yes,
but
it's
also
very
potentially a distraction
relieving at
as you're
times.
trying to game
Yeah.
plan and get all your schoolwork done
Right.
and all that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's a process, right? It's
It
not
is.
as it's
It's a
not
huge
as simple
process.
as just saying, "Oh, thanks for the text message" or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's a role you have to play in it as well
Exactly.
to let them know that you are
That you're
interested. And
interested.
yep.
I've never asked this question.
Well, I
We've-
can't
a
wait
lot
to
of-
hear it.
A lot of years I've done this show, and I've not done that. I don't know. You know if you can answer it, and if you don't want to answer it, I understand completely. Is there a coach or some representative of a school that has done something that you think is the best thing? I mean, just something that really got your attention in a positive way. And was there ever a communication that was you just shake your head and think, why would they do something or say something like that?
Yeah, I mean, like, a coach from UND, Coach Hogue, he calls me every week, and it's like, like he takes time out of a coaching, college coaching schedule, and calls me, and then talks to me for 5-10 minutes just because he wants to.
It's a big difference between a phone call and a text message, right?
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference. Phone calls are kind of scary. But
Was there ever a negative? You don't have to use any names here, but was there anything? Has there ever been a negative interaction that you
I
just?
mean, there's been like, I've gone to camps and I've done pretty well, and then it's like, we'll see what your film seems like, but it's the game. So
What in addition to wanting to play football, what career path are you considering, or what's and obviously at your age you don't have to know or
Right.
don't need to know, but if you had to put something out there right now, what are your interest areas?
I'm between either engineering or pharmacy. I'm probably trending towards more pharmacy. So
Very good.
Well, let's talk about Friday. I mean, level 3. Every week that goes by, it just builds and builds and builds, and
100%.
you know you have a very good opponent, Columbus.
Yes.
I mean, really good opponent.
Yeah.
In preparation this week, anything stand out for your game on Friday?
We got to stop the run first and foremost. We got to stop the run, and then we're trusting our athletes to stick with their athletes. So
I mean, and that's the recipe in the playoffs, right? The line of scrimmage, and then the ability
Yes.
to run the ball and the ability to stop the run. So,
Right.
what are you guys doing? Anything special or different? You don't have to obviously give any strategy, but
we're going to put more guys in the box and then move me up every once in a while. So it should be pretty solid.
Do you ever give yourself that moment? I always, again, being the coach would never ask this question because they don't ever look ahead. But as a broadcaster, I can always do that. When you put your head on the pillow, do you ever give yourself that moment to think, man, what would it be like to be at Camp Randall Stadium to play in a state championship game? Do you allow yourself to dream that way?
It's always in the back of my head, like, this would be freaking amazing. It's everyone's dream, I think.
Well, and
Every football player's dream.
And
so.
Mosinee has a pretty solid tradition of having good football teams and good football programs,
We've
but
just
they
never
right, you
made
haven't
that
won
next
it,
step.
right? Yeah,
Right.
they kind of got there. So obviously that's a
It's
great
also
a great
it's-
dream to have. And
Any other questions for Tree before we go to our traditional final question?
no, I had no more questions. Just it's been as you go into these last 3 weeks, whatever they are, right?
Yeah.
Whether it ends this week or goes 2 more, and we talk
100%.
about that gold or silver ball. you've had a phenomenal career.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that it's been great week in and week out for us to be able to talk to you and look at the numbers
Thank
and
you.
kind of shake my head and say, holy cow, how does
appreciate
this
that.
guy do it? So congratulations and best of luck this week.
Thank you.
And you've been through this before, so I will just give you the final question again. And especially, it's perfect for somebody like you because you've been involved in 3 sports like you are and have had so many experiences during your high school career. But for somebody that's just starting their high school career at Mosinee, maybe in the football program or any of the other sports that you're involved with, based on what you've learned, what piece of advice would you give somebody just starting the journey to make the most out of their years at Mosinee?
I mean, never take anything for granted and take every opportunity they give you because it goes by fast and you can use that for everything. I mean, missing lift is like the hugest thing for me. I always want to lift, and it's a great opportunity. I mean, it's awesome. Never miss an opportunity.
Fantastic. Trev Stoffel, again, congrats on all the success you've had in your high school career.
Thank you.
Best of luck Friday. Best of luck in the winter and the spring. Best
you.
of luck in your process of determining the next step as well. And really appreciate you coming back on the program.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Trev Stoffel, again, our student-athlete guest for Mosinee here on the Big High School Sports Show. We're going to take a quick time out and then come back and look ahead, and we'll talk about the Mosinee game among the others that are coming up in level number 3 this Friday night. It is the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.
What's your idea of fall fun? Maybe it's hitting the trails on a new ATV. Then it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Or if you're thinking of a UTV for hauling wood or hunting, or maybe just because it would make the tasks around your property so much easier, it's time to call CCU. ATVs, UTVs, utility tractors, and their attachments for care of your property. Whether you need it for fun or to get the job done, Clover Belt Credit Union is here to help with the great rate financing you want. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Thinking about a motorhome or maybe a snowplow for your ATV or utility tractor? Call CCU for great rate financing. And if you're thinking motorcycle, Clover Belt Credit Union has the financing you need for the bike you want. Call or apply online at ccuwausau.com. Check it out. For vehicle loans, for mortgages, for financing fall fun, call Clover Belt Credit Union. That's CCU. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though,
What's going on?
he's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team, and ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Yeah, you take a few of them on your team, don't you? Jeez. Is this brother?
And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. And on the Civic Media app. And again, you can also tune in on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel there as well. With Jason Foster, former Wausau West High School head football coach. And also back in is Paul Michlig, the Newman Catholic High School head football coach. And we always talk about how the guests are the best part of the show. Not sure about tonight, at least for the coach guest. But no, with Trev Stoffel, what he's been able to accomplish, it's always wonderful to get a chance to delve a little bit into. And again, it's always interesting, the idea of, having all these college coaches texting and calling. I mean, I'd never experienced anything like that myself, but I mean, it just seems like I always like to find out a little bit more about that.
It's really interesting too, in what a great learning experience it is for the athlete, right? Because you kind of learn how you talk to the very first coach is so much different than how you're talking at the end of the process, right? You know the questions to ask, you know the kind of the responses they're looking for, and obviously he's a very well-spoken young man. And I was kind of mentioning to Coach Michlig as we were coming back on the air that you'd certainly take 2 or 3 Trev Stoffels on your football team at any level, right? Like we talk about divisions, you talk about 8-player versus 11-player. Great football players are great football players, and it doesn't matter what level you play or whatever. And he certainly fits into that category and is a great player, great young man.
And that multi-sport athlete. I mean, you guys, I know within your schools, you love to see that. And, man, that's a lot on the plate. But yet they seem to handle it so very well.
He's tall, lanky, strong. Yeah, I mean, he could probably play sports. You know what I mean? Like that. That's yep. And you guys do a good job with those guests, and they always are good guests, and that was a real good one. Very mature, very good answers, and you guys, like I said, he did a great job, but you guys do a good job with all of your guests too.
By the way, and the thing about it, both him and his father / coach saying that it's the sister, the young lady in the family that could be.
Good for Mosinee.
And they're not just saying that either. I mean, that's something that's a lot of folks are talking about. That just shows amazing. I mean, talk about a family. That's an athletic family, and really, really cool stuff indeed. I love hearing about that. And again, thanks to Trev for being back with us again here tonight. I had a couple more questions for the coach, and then we'll talk about the games. We didn't even mention. I mean, this year was a big year. With the opening of the new football field, of the athletic complex. What does that mean for Newman Catholic? I mean, does it make your work easier? Does it? I guess because it was it's so impressive to go there and to see what you've been able to accomplish there at Newman Catholic. And what does that mean? What was it like, number one, this year, going out on that field for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, that once in a lifetime opportunity for those kids, and to be on that a field that's their own, and that's all the people that donated to that and made it happen, and behind the scenes, tremendous. And from work wise, football's football. Nice is that we don't have to worry about the grass being a foot long, and
the lines are nice and straight this year.
Yeah, the lines are nice and straight. Yeah, if somebody, all the people that ever said that to me about, hey, look at that, line's a little crooked. I wanted to, if I could go back and say, how about you do it yourself? If I could have $1 for every person that said that, and I just sat there every time and laughed it off and just said that there. But now after 25 years. Coach Grundy said that I should have just burnt the lines. That's what he used to do, and then they would just stay for the whole season. But the facility.
That's why he's a Hall of Famer.
That's why he's a Hall of Famer on there. But the whole facility is tremendous. The concession stand is just finishing up. Is beautiful. The tennis courts are gorgeous. The track is beautiful. Looking forward to using that this spring.
Oh yeah.
And the practice field next fall. And hopefully we're not finished, and we got to get to, actually, I'm hoping we got to finish the softball field. Hopefully that's this spring we can start on that, and the faith area up close to the school, first class, and very blessed to be able to have the opportunity to coach in it. And obviously the kids that first night is something where you can kind of bottle that up and always have that for a memory, because not too many people can say, hey, they opened the field up, and they got to open that field up with a win and a great performance.
Well, and at the end of the day too, a lot of cliches when it comes to high school football, but Friday night lights, right? I mean, to be able to play a home game under the lights, first group of kids who've ever been able to say that, and to not have to play on a Saturday, not have to play like to your homecoming game. I mean, all all of the things that this group got to do and that you get to do moving forward. Weather doesn't play quite as big a role when you're playing multiple games on the same surface every week with your lower levels and all that on a super wet and soggy. And I got to give, and I'm sure you played a huge role in the planning and the implementation, but I give Newman Catholic a ton of credit because it's not just a football field, right? I mean, it's football, it's soccer, it's track. The tennis courts are beautiful. I mean, I sit out in our 3-story Wausau West and I go up and down those stairs a million times a day, and the only windows we have in Wausau West are in our stairwell. So when I'm on the south side of the building in those stairwells and I look across, it's amazing. I mean, when you consider the size of Newman Catholic, obviously the success of your program certainly warrants all the things that you guys have, but it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's not just a football field; it is a complex, and like you said, softball's coming and all that. So, what a great accomplishment for your school and the Newman Catholic community in general. I drove by. I think it was last Sunday. I don't know if it was trunk or can but I went to the grocery store and it was kind of dusty. I came back on a Sunday night and then the lights are on the football field. I'm like, what the heck are they doing tonight?
And looking forward, it's going to be a tougher conference. I'm not taking anything away from the kids that you've been playing for the last number of years, but it almost feels like you're going back to the Cloverwood next year, doesn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, that's what it is. And, nothing's ever written in stone of who the teams are yet, even, and this and that. I mean, they are written in stone, but, we just got a request from somebody this week. That is whatever. So, and who knows? In a couple of years, they were talking
it sounds like you could make some news here. What's
well, it has nothing to do with us. So
okay.
Okay. It's not news for us.
I thought maybe.
No, it's nothing that great. But I'm just saying that you can try to do this or that, and you never know if it's only 2 years or whatever. And great teams, great conference, and they're going to be good again next year. And that's. Coach said it many times tonight already. Worry about what we can control, and what we're going to worry about and control is our off season and seeing and enjoying that journey, enjoying that experience as we get up there, and when we start playing some games, then we'll start worrying about those teams. But great conference, a great conference that we were in, and it's definitely. But when you're saying look ahead, I guess I'm getting too old to think about 6 months from. Don't get me wrong, we always are thinking about 6 months, but I'm trying to think about tomorrow yet, and what we're going to do next week, and how make sure how we're getting a good workout in next week, and things like that.
Real quick, process matters. If you have a good process, it makes it easier to get good results, and if you try to make shortcuts, you probably won't get great results. Correct,
and. There's a saying that goes like the more you put into it, the more it hurts when it doesn't go your way. If it doesn't hurt, not everybody's going to be 8-0, not everybody's going to be 0-8, 4-4. Everybody's going to be at a different level. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in the off season and during the season, and when it ends for those seniors, and it hurts, and it doesn't feel you're disappointed it's over because you like doing all that stuff, then we've succeeded.
Right. Like I believe this as a coach meant even more to me as an athletic director. When you have a whole group of coaches that you work with, at the end of the day, we want to win, right? Our goal is to win. If your goal isn't to win, I don't know what the heck we're doing, right? Like, why are we putting all this time and energy into it? But the purpose of what we do is that those student athletes are able to look back over their shoulder at the end of the journey and say, I'm a better young man, better young woman today than I was when I started. And coaches play such a huge role in creating an environment and a program and an atmosphere that allows them to be able to learn those lessons along the way and say that. And obviously that's something you guys are doing a great job of.
And I guess finally, before we turn to the games, getting closer to having your boys play for you. What do you? Because we talk to coaches that have their kids be part of it, and you'll be a quarter century as a coach before your kids get there, which is very unusual. Is it something that your boys have been around their program and doing a lot of great things with your program for a lot of years? But how excited are you about having that out there in the future?
It's not really in my thought process. They got a good class, so excited about that. And good. And when I say good class, I mean good numbers class.
Right.
And
which is so vital for school your size, isn't it?
It's huge, and so I'm excited about them. And I just came from practice with them just before the show, and but honestly. One day at a time, and I'm worried about tomorrow and worried about next week. I just look back at some of the memories. I was looking at something from when we won state that first year against Luck, and seeing them on the sidelines and seeing them over in Stanley Boyd at Gilman. They're probably 7, 8 years old and celebrating and enjoying it. And the WFCA let them come this summer. To the All-Star game with me, and they're talking about all the guys on the team, and they know more about the team and stuff like that. Like, you probably could end it now, and they got more out of high school football than a lot of people do have the opportunity, and for that, I will always be appreciative of high school football.
I have a 24-year-old daughter who I feel like I could say the same thing about. She spent a lot of time on the sideline with me, and how it has impacted our relationship over time. And some of her greatest high school memories happened on the sideline of a football field, even though she never took a snap.
And she never played.
Other than Powder Puff football homecoming. I guess my other question, without looking forward and talking about your kids or the status of the program and good classes, what does the lower levels of Newman Catholic football look like? What are the different levels? When do kids start playing organized football in your program, and what role does that play in feeding the high school team?
And been blessed to have a good program underneath for all these years, and some great coaches, and Coach Gress was there for quite a bit of that time, and so they come in as sixth graders. They don't really play because we change leagues all the time, it seems like. So they get to play a little bit when we have 2 games. So like if 6th and 7th grade play one game, and then 7th and 8th graders play one game, then they get a little playing time. But a lot of the teams we don't play are just 7th and 8th grade. So we're not going to throw a 6th grader in there against an 8th grader. There's a huge difference between a 7th and 8th grader, much less than a 6th and 8th grader. And so we get them in there with the practicing the majority as 6th graders, and it's worked out lately for the last few years to give them the opportunity to get into the flow of things, how it's supposed to be. I always laugh at those guys because they wear full pads every day, and I don't know if I've gone full pads. I don't know, give or take 10 years with our guys. So they actually look forward to high school because then they don't gotta go full pads anymore. So we got that for that lower level, and we feel that we're always trying to pump it and trying to go into the school and get the numbers for the 5th graders to get go into the 6th grade and things like that, because the middle school is, and it's vital. I think I just used the quote today on something like Coach Witter said to me last year. He goes, if you can, my best teams coaching were when they were taken care of in the middle school and they came to me ready to go. And I'm not saying that he didn't coach.
Right.
He was just trying to say is you can see who's coaching these people, and if they're doing it right, and if they're going to come up, it makes our life as the coaches at the varsity level a lot easier. You said something interesting, and I know this is the last question. You said you want to coach freshmen. You know why you'd be the best at that is because I truly believe that level is the most important level. When we get to seniors and juniors, we're out tricking 17, 18-year-olds, whatever. That's what we're doing. But you're talking about learning the game of football and actually seeing that huge progression of them turning into a football player. It's at that level. That's where it is. I mean, you don't see as much as a junior to senior. I'm not saying you don't, but it's that level. And that's why I'm taking a guess that you would love to be coached at that level, because in my mind, I think that's actually more important than any of them. But that's just my opinion on that.
And one final point, and I'm going to give you a chance because I think this person deserves an opportunity to be talked about as well. One of my favorite people is your wife.
Yeah,
Ashley.
yeah.
I mean, what she does she works. I mean, I'll see when I go to practice. She'll walk by, and we'll see stuff online. I mean, she is an incredible support for your program, isn't she?
Yeah, she does great. She does our Facebook stuff, and she sometimes
I didn't thank her for promoting the show tonight. I saw that earlier.
Well, she always takes. Actually, I told her to do that, so I'm not. I'm not going to give her credit on that one. Okay,
all right.
Everything else I'm going to give her credit on there, but she does that, and I almost look forward to having her clips. Sometimes I'll be there. I go, hey, why isn't that done yet? Because I get goosebumps and emotional just watching them. How good she puts things together and does that stuff, and Coach, how it is. Besides doing everything for the program and being part of the Friends of Gridiron and doing things for them, she's also got to be the one that, you don't want to do it as a coach. And I think I've gotten better as I've aged. But, when things are not going good or you got some kids hurt and you're coming home and there's a lot of things on your mind and what's not on your mind is home. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I'm right or wrong or the coach is right or wrong or whoever it is. It's just that your head's not there and to be always to understand that and you need the correct person to have that. Any coach needs that, and if they're lucky to find one, and I was, then it works out better.
And back in her day, she had a game-winning shot in a playoff game.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
Back when I was young.
Yeah, back. what about? Yeah. No, she's a great. She's a great mother to our kids, and anytime I can't obviously do anything or be at some games because obviously I'm coaching. She's filming them and sending them to me, and I'm sitting at home because they're on the road at Gilman, and I just got done with practice. But there's a lot of things that mothers and wives are they are the MVPs. I know that's a cliche code or comment, but that's the truth of it. And Coach, you know it as well as I do.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's look ahead. Level 3, some area teams in action. Start with Division 4. We just had Trev Stoffel in talking about the very impressive opponent that they're taking on. Mosinee 9-2 at Columbus 10-1. And looking at Columbus, and he mentioned their offense and talking about what they want to try to do, because I mean you look at the number of points that team has scored this year. It's been just amazing. They had the one loss against Aquinas. They scored 13. Otherwise, they've scored at least 42 points in every other game. I mean that's consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And I heard Trev actually talking to Coach on the way out the door about exactly what it is that they do and how balanced they are. And they run the football. And every single game you play in football at any level, the first thing you have to do on defense is stop the run. But when you get into these playoff situations like this, it becomes all that much more important because here's the deal. They're going to get first downs. They're going to have long drives, and they're going to score points. Mm-hmm. Your job as a defense is to slow them down, make it take as many plays as possible to score those points, and the longer they possess the ball, the fewer points that they can score, and to get your offense back. So,
and the more chances that they could make a mistake.
For sure. I was going to say the next thing is, in order to win games like this, when you are the underdog, and I say underdog, and they're 9-2, so it's not, they're no slouches for sure. But you need a couple things to go your way as well. Right? You need to force some turnovers. You need them to make some maybe uncharacteristic mistakes. You need to capitalize on those, get some momentum. I think what was Trev telling you, Coach, on his way out the door, that they have 2,200 yards rushing this year and 1,000 yards passing. So they're a balanced team. You got to do more than just stop the run. But until you stop the run, it becomes it's a really tough football game. And Mosinee plays really tough. I love listening to Trev talk about defense and their defensive mindset. So they bring a pretty good game plan and a pretty good mental toughness to Columbus, and should be exciting.
I Coach said everything on there. I agree 100% with him. So, Aquinas is a good team. Aquinas beat them pretty soundly. I mean, don't get me wrong, and they're a really good team. I'm not denying that fact. I think there is, and just looking at some of the games and things like that, and their balance, and Columbus didn't they win a state title or a couple of them just recently? They probably are one of the top teams in that division. Mosinee, watching them is going to be tough to defend with that young man as the quarterback, if they can find some other spark offensively, I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be who can get to 20 first, and if Mosinee can get to 20, I think they're in good shape.
Division 5, Stratford and Tomahawk. Ever since the brackets came out, it's been sort of pointing in this direction. Stratford 9-2, Tomahawk 10-1. This game will be played in Tomahawk. It's hard to go against Stratford, isn't it?
It is, but
just based on history.
I would also say I wouldn't pick either team in this game. Like, I certainly wouldn't put any money on this game because every time I think that Tomahawk, who came into this conference 2 years ago as by far the smallest school, who you question why, and they did it willingly. They wanted to come back into this conference, and you scratched your head a little bit thinking, what are they thinking?
Everybody else is rubbing their hands together.
Yes, exactly. And I look at what they've accomplished. I mean, they played some tough games last year, but what they've accomplished this year, you'd be hard-pressed to vote against them. It's in Tomahawk. Yeah. I think that makes a difference. Stratford's playing really, really good football, and you'd be hard-pressed to bet against the 3-time defending state champion against a school this size. So I think this is, I mean, as soon as the brackets came out, I think you're right. I think if you're going to a game this Friday night, this would be the one that you'd get in the car and go to because I think it's going to be a great game. I think Stratford probably has a little bit of an edge. If Tomahawk can keep it close, can keep it low scoring, I think they got a real chance.
It's ironic is Tomahawk, and I don't know this for sure, but my guess is Tomahawk was in the Marewood. So, you know what I mean? So, like, they actually asked to get out of the Marewood almost to not asked, but because of the realignment and stuff. But Stratford and Egger are facing those teams all the time. I do not believe that they beat them. If I could be wrong, and somebody call and tell Chad that maybe they did. I don't think they did when they were in the Marewood. And to come full circle and be the team that's actually the number 1 seed in a conference with bigger schools, what they did, Coach, you're right, because 300 kids or 400, whatever they have, to 800, 900, that is a big difference. I'm sorry, but that is a big difference when it comes to that's a huge difference. Yeah. It's amazing. Credit to them. Great job. It's tough to bet against a team that's won 3 state championships. So it should be a barn burner.
Another D5 game, Amherst and Mayville. Amherst 10-1. They're only lost to Stratford late in the season. Mayville is 11-0. It's a team that runs the football. I was looking a little earlier about their stats, and they got a kid that's run for nearly 1,400 yards, but then they have another kid that's run for 632 and another kid that's for 596. So they just run the ball, and they're undefeated. But Amherst is looking like they're playing some pretty good football, but that's a stiff test.
Yeah, Mayville's got an outstanding program, outstanding tradition. Actually, I believe it's the son of their Hall of Fame coach who is coaching there. He does a great job. I know him a little bit, and that is a tall order, but Amherst is playing its best football right now. And when you want to talk pedigrees, I would say you would most certainly be able to put Amherst state championships up against Mayville's. And they haven't been there for a minute, but this does feel like that kind of Amherst team minus a Groshek or two. Mm-hmm. But this should be another one. Obviously tough for them to go on the road, but they're a 10-1 football team and playing really good football, so I certainly wouldn't bet against them.
And maybe that coach that you're talking about, because they got Scott Hilber.
Yes.
But Noreen, am I saying it right? He's the offensive line coach there.
Okay.
Because I just happened to see him. He was up at Coach Grundy's cabin the other week.
Of course he was.
Yeah, of course. And because he's got a cabin up there too, because he's retired. So he was saying about watching games, and I want to say he said his son is the line coach.
Okay.
And Scott Hilber, if I'm not mistaken, has won a state title somewhere else. I mean, that's
he was over by Rapids.
Nakusa?
Yes, he was at Nakusa. Yep.
On there. So I know he's had success other places too, maybe not state titles. They're well coached. Amherst as well. You're talking about 2 mighty programs going at each other. And the thing with it is, I thought he told me that Mayville, that this might be as good as team that he's seen, and he's won state titles with him. So it should be a barn burner. There's another. These are games. These third round games are woo.
And then D6, Bonduelle at Edgar. Bonduelle, much like Mosinee, got off to a little bit of a slow start. They had that game against Whitburn in week 1 that was a surprise. I remember because being surprised that Whitburn beat them. And then they lost to Kewanee in week 4, 14-7. But like Mosinee, they have really rolled since then. They've won 7 games in a row by pretty significant margins. And then you got Edgar. And Edgar, again, it's like that game 2 weeks ago. I mean, it feels like Edgar could be had for some reason to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts on here, but any thoughts?
Well, first off, I hope Jerry's not listening, and that was Chad who said
Chad
that,
Holmes?
not Jason. Yes.
Yeah, when I send a message for him to be on the show next time, 2 weeks.
But
I'm
no,
the same guy that picked Spencer Columbus against Tomahawk.
I would say this. I mean, at some point, it has to enter the conversation that they're playing in D6 again and not D7. And I think when you to back up what you're saying, Chad, I think Bonduelle certainly does not have the pedigree as a state champion, but they certainly have the pedigree as a really tough football team. I'm sure they're going to have some really nice size. Who did you just say that they lost 14? Oh, Kewanee.
And then they beat them last week on the
I'd
road.
say Kewanee, traditional, really strong program as well. So I think you're justified in saying that as well, we haven't talked about it all. I mean, Edgar has dominated anyone who's come in their path for the most part. Tough game last 2 weeks ago. But at some point, playing in D6 makes a difference from D7 and who they see in the playoffs. And I think each week moving forward, that's a legitimate conversation to have. Is the depth, the size of the teams they're playing could certainly play a role this week.
And Wittenberg, when they did lose to them, were they healthy at that time? Weren't they healthy at that time?
I mean,
or closer.
Didn't have their quarterback.
Wittenberg lost their quarterback, so I mean that was the first game without their quarterback, and they had to really make a big change. So that was why it surprised me back in week 1. But at the same time, I mean Bonduelle is, because I thought, Bonduelle's probably going to have a tougher year than they normally would have, and then they found a way to, after that Kewanee game, and again they've put up a lot of points over the last number of weeks.
I feel that they've been a D5 school sometimes too, like they're on the bubble on that, which plays a little in their wins
favor.
and losses. Yeah, so again though, if I was just looking at the numbers, and I'm sitting there going, I wouldn't bet against Edgar in this situation. I think it would be.
Nobody scores a lot of points against Edgar. Nobody's shown it yet. I mean, they gave up 26 points all season long. So it's like, I'm curious to see if a team like Bonduelle can score some points. Really, I mean, as we go deeper and deeper, is anybody going to be able to score points against Edgar? Because they don't give up points.
the teams that have success against them, if there's any in the past, if they lost in the state championship or whatever, or Stratford, they were physical at the line of scrimmage. You could see it early on in the game, like, okay, these guys match up with them. So it gives them a chance. If they can get to the line of scrimmage and say that they're even with them, then it's a whole different ball game. But if Edgar dominates the line of scrimmage, I just don't see a team beating them.
You make a great point there, Coach. I think about those couple state championship games that I've been down there to watch them lose, and it's when teams make them uncomfortable and force them to do things, and that's when they start making turnovers, attempt to have to throw the ball more than they're used to throwing. And I think that's a great point. And like you said, you'll probably know a lot about where this game is going in the first quarter and a half.
Yep.
30 seconds to go. We got McDonald, Lena St. Thomas at DCE on Friday night, a semifinal in 8-player. Oakfield and Gilman at Wapaka in a semifinal in 8-player as well. So for folks here in Central Wisconsin, McDonald and Lena St. Thomas will be worth a trek over to Steam Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, Lena's they're both good programs.
Lena was in the state championship game last year.
Yep, and I coached with one of their guys, and he's a great guy.
All right, guys. Well, thank you both very much. And thanks again for everyone for joining us here on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.